Hello guys, and welcome to my channel, Blissfully Single Bean. I'm your homegirl Bean, and I'm your blissfully single one. Happy Sunday, everybody. Did you guys get into Love and Marriage Huntsville last night? It was alright. I mean, nothing to do backflips about, but you know, I love me some of my Huntsville reality show family, so you know, I was there. Let's get on into it. We pick up at the very unfortunate spot of the episode where Mel has asked the Opie looking security guard to escort Latisha out, which is terribly embarrassing because just moments before Latisha was having a conversation with one of her colleagues. So everybody's looking like. Latisha walks over to Kimmy and says, "Kimmy, I'm sorry, I have to leave because I'm asked to leave by this security guard." Kimmy says no. Kimmy grabs Latisha, says no. Why would she do that? Mel would do that because Latisha wasn't invited. And as much as I love Kimmy and as much as I love the balance that she brings to the show because she's so fair, you gotta give this one to Mel. Not only did Mel not invite Latisha to this private event, these women have been feuding for months now, haven't said anything to each other, going back and forth for Twitter. It boggles the mind that Latisha would think this would be the platform, this woman's event would be the appropriate space to try and make up. Girl, no. Like Mel said, you could have sent a text message. Kimmy grabs Latisha and walks over to Mel because surely if they have a conversation with Mel, Mel would change her mind. Unfortunately, Mel did not. Mel doubles down at these two. Latisha and Mel go back and forth, but Mel is not budging, which is crazy because if I were in Mel's situation, I know the person that I am. I can't hold on to anger. Like I'm not a spiteful person. So if I was in that situation with Latisha and Latisha was talking to me or I had to come face to face with her, there was a part of my heart that would have melted a little bit. Like, all right, girl, you tried to come to my event, but go on, enjoy the event. I will get with you later. But there was no, like, Mel was very much the ice queen in that scene. She was like, yeah, no, security. That was cold, Mel, but I understand. Kimmy grabs Latisha and Kimmy says, the security guard says, oh, okay, man, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Kimmy says, no, I don't need you. I could escort her out myself. All right, Kimmy, you know, you better step up for that sister-in-law of yours, honey. Kimmy walks Latisha to the car and, you know, Kimmy says, you tried, you did the right thing. No, you didn't do the right thing. You should have reached out to that woman before you came crashing her private event. Kimmy, stop that. Latisha gets in the car. Man, Latisha cried in the car. I felt her embarrassment as the tear or two streamed down her eyes. She called Marsau, and Marsau, being the beacon of sensitivity, light, and support. Marsau goes, what? They did what? Man, fuck them. Maurice and Kimmy are adjusting very nicely to married life, and come to find out, Monster, Maurice's son, lives with them now, and I was very happy because I know that was something that Maurice really wanted. Living with his son, I love it. Oh, I love when black men step up and be fathers, and I know that should be the standard, but unfortunately, it is not. As much as I am happy to see that Monster is living with Maurice, is the ex-wife, did she make the move to Huntsville too? Because you know that was a major storyline last season. Maurice, in order for Monster to live with him, he had to move the wife and the wife's husband, who obviously doesn't have gainful employment if you can switch state to state like this on a whim, you know, to come live in Huntsville. So anybody with the tea, please drop down in the comment box. Is the ex-wife in Huntsville with him? Inquiring minds want to know. So Maurice mentions to Kimmy he doesn't want Kimmy to be a stay-at-home mom. He wants Kimmy to be an entrepreneur. And by that he means Kimmy's a nurse. Kimmy's been a nurse for 22 years. So now he wants Kimmy to retire from nursing and transition into real estate. Kimmy mentions, I'm the type of person, I like to count my pennies. I like to count every dollar. So the security and having a paycheck every 2 weeks is important to her, and she's scared of leaving that for real estate. I'm looking at Maurice like, you Scotland are something else. Are you out of your rabbit ass mind? I want this woman to leave her career to transition into real estate. Being an entrepreneur, which is exactly what you are as a real estate agent when you're selling homes. You're an entrepreneur. This is your own business, which means you're not getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. You're getting a paycheck every time a damn house sells. Not everyone has that kind of hustle in them. I know I don't. I wish somebody would tell me to leave my job where I know I'm getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. I know exactly how much I'm getting for the uncertainty of entrepreneurship and or real estate. That is not an easy move to make. I'm looking at Maurice like, the fact that you even ask her to do such a thing, I'm giving you a side eye. Like, I'm giving you the severe side eye, like this. I'm not feeling it at all. All I know is Sister Jackie, please rest in peace. My mom's name was Jacqueline, Jackie for short. But my mom said to me when I was going to college, she said, listen here, girl, go to a community college, go to Brooklyn College, go to BMCC, go to one of these colleges, get a 2-year degree in nursing, and you'll be set. No, I tried to be cute. Oh, no, I want to have the college experience. I'm not going to be a nurse like a good little Haitian girl. All these Haitian girls are nurses. No, I'm not going to do it. Instead, I went to college, racked up how much money in student loans, and now, you know, I'm in corporate America where I have to face a layoff every few years. I'm never going to have a job where I'm going to work into retirement, because that's not how corporate America is set up. Kimmy, as a single mom, a nursing degree, which brought her stability, you want her to give that up? Man, Maurice, you better go find a big ass rock and then kick it. On to Marsau and Latisha, everyone's favorite couple, everyone's except mine. Latisha is practicing for a women's empowerment speech. And child, as much as Latisha is not my favorite, I have to say, seeing her growth from season 1 to this season now, madam, I have to implore you, because you wanted so much more season 1, and to see you get it season 3, I mean, she's doing it with real estate to the point where Marsau is building a real estate complex for Latisha. Girl, bottle that formula and teach a workshop on it. But anyway, Marsau is listening to her speech, and at the end of the speech, she's asking her about the women's empowerment. He says, well, is this an evening event? Latisha goes, yes, this is an evening event around 6 o'clock. And she says, FYI, you're going to have to make dinner. Latisha, what a come up, girl. Of course, Marsau does not receive this well. All right, I have to cook dinner again. You know, I've been watching these kids in the evening. I've been cooking dinner while, you know, you're doing what you're doing. Of course, you've been cooking dinner and watching your kids and been stepping up and picking up the slack. Of course, it's boggles the mind. Like, Marsau has this archaic personality, and you know what, I cannot even limit it to Marsau, because my ex, which is why this girl is blissfully single, my ex, the father of my children, he had so much resentment when it was time for him to step the hell up. I work in marketing / event, which meant I had to travel. Every few months I had to travel to set up different trade shows and such, and during this time, who the hell else is going to step up and assume my responsibilities? It would be him. But there would be this kind of resentment, and you can see it, hatred, for the fact that he would have to actually be a freaking dad for a couple of nights, which is crazy, because when I was at home, all he had to do was come home, eat a steak that I cooked him, and watch TV. That's it. That was only his responsibilities. But God forbid I try and go make a paycheck some damn where, which means I had to get on a plane and sleep somewhere, and you'd have to actually step up and do what I do every single day for 2 or 3 nights. Oh no, that was the issue. That was so I was watching that scene like my fists were balling up, because it took me back to a place where it's like, you son of a... She mentions Mel's event, and she's going on and on about how embarrassed she was, and then Marsau asked a question that I was asking. Marsau asked the question that everybody on Twitter was asking. Latisha, were you invited to this event? And Latisha was stuttering. No, Tish. Girl, you were not invited to the event. At the end of the day, Latisha was coming from a good place, but the execution was terrible. You shouldn't have shown up point blank, and the period. Marsau goes on to say, how many ex-boyfriends do you keep in contact with? Are you popping up at their events, their weddings, their baby showers? No, it's an ex for a reason. And Marsau's point is, you're steady trying to fight and salvage this relationship, or salvage this friendship, when just take the L. Just take the L and just leave them alone and don't mess with them. Basically, I was not mad at what Marsau was saying. Tisha wasn't really trying to hear that, but I'm like, all right, Tisha. Listen, I hope Tisha and Mel make up in this season, because I do not want to see a whole season of these girls going back and forth. Not when there's apparently all this juice between Mel and Martell a brewing. No, thank you. You guys make up, please, because I don't want to see it anymore. So we have Mel's postpartum visit and Dr. Peterson. I'm calling her out by name because I loved her this scene. Dr. Peterson discusses or asks Mel about birth control, or whether or not Mel is going to have a 5th child. And one thing struck me. I like Mel, but I believe she's known about Martell's affair with this woman for a while now. So while Martell was sleeping with this other woman, you had sex with him without a condom? Now I have to rewind, because the standard is, if I'm married and I have a husband, oh yes, I should be able to have sex with you without a condom. I should be able to give you these children. But Martell has been cheating this whole time, and she gave him a baby a year. There's a lot at stake with her and Martell. But I have to say, if I was in her situation and I knew he was back and forth between me and the side piece, trust and believe, you wouldn't be hitting it raw. I don't know what kind of juices or flea-infested vag juices you're bringing into me. No, that's the stuff that you should play with. But yeah, I was looking at the scene like, wow, she really had 4 kids by him, and he's been cheating like for what, half of their marriage. They're discussing birth control. Martell wants to have another child. I'm looking at Martell like, really? You want to have a child? Another child? You want to have a 5th child? How about you be faithful to Mel for more than 30 seconds? How about that? Mel obviously echoed my sentiments, because Mel says, I really wish his words would line up with his actions. Meaning, if you want another damn baby, how about you be the husband that I need you to be? How about you be a faithful husband, a husband that I can trust? Martell is full of shit. And when I say full of shit, not the firm type of shit, the runny diarrhea kind of shit. Martell and Mel are going back and forth, and Martell asked Dr. Peterson, well, Dr. Peterson, what do you think about birth control? Dr. Peterson said, listen, the men that I talk to, they have had to have a vasectomy, and they have had to been married at least more than once. I said, Dr. Peterson. And I say that because I remember having a conversation with one of my cousins. I'm a little older than her. I mean, not a little, maybe 6 or 7 years older than her. But we're in the same situation. We're single moms with a couple of kids. I was having a conversation with her. She says the next guy that she dates, he can't have any kids. And when she said that to me, I'm thinking, okay, this is an unrealistic way of thinking. It really is unrealistic, because you know, as single moms with a couple of kids, and I have to be brutally honest here, there are guys with no kids are not breaking down doors to date us, number one. Number two, if you have a guy in our age group that doesn't have a child, there's a good possibility that someday he will want a child. And a lot of times, a man doesn't want a child by a woman who's already had a couple of children. Again, it's not 100% of the time thing, but looking at a whole and looking at my experience, that's unrealistic. And then another thing, why on earth would I want to date a man with no kids? I want to date a father. I want this father to understand what it means to sacrifice yourself for somebody other than you. Because if I get into a relationship with a guy who doesn't have any kids, it's not going to work, simply because he doesn't understand the parenthood grind. So when Dr. Peterson said that, he's had to have a vasectomy and had to have been married a time or two, she's echoing my sentiment. Child, I need you to have some baggage, just like I have some baggage. Mel and Martell go back and forth a couple of times, and Martell says, oh, don't listen to Mel, she's in her feelings. She's in her feelings. She doesn't have a right to be in her feelings. Martell, you've been fucking a woman for 5 years of their marriage, of your marriage, and she doesn't have a right to be in her feelings. Dr. Peterson says, the way I see it, both of you guys are in your feelings. I'm going to step out here so y'all could talk it out. Boom. That conversation about having a 5th kid is done. And the child having another kid should not be a priority. Y'all need to get it together or make the decision to divorce. Because Mel, you're tired, and we're tired watching this play out. So then they talk about Mel's event, and Mel mentions that Kimmy does walk Latisha out, and she understands, but at the same time, she's tired of Kim being a mediator. Mel, what exactly are you talking about? In one breath, you say you understood why Kimmy walked Latisha out. The next breath, you're tired of her being a mediator. I mean, which one is it? Kimmy has always been fair. Always been fair. She's always been the one to hear both sides. Kimmy could be a mediator. Y'all need Kimmy as a mediator. And then they go into this conversation where Martell mentions that Kimmy was the side piece. Nigga, are you out of your mind? And Mel goes, oh, really? Kimmy was the side piece? Not convinced. Not convinced. Because you deliver that line, that scripted line, like, oh, I didn't know. But you very much knew this was the type of tea that Martell was going to spill, that Kimmy was a side piece and she was dating Maurice before Maurice had a divorce from the other woman. First of all, let me break it down like this. Number one, I don't believe it. That's number one. Number two, if it were true, technicalities. Maurice was probably at a stage where he was filing for divorce. The divorce wasn't final yet, and he started talking to Kimmy between that in-between stage. Either way, yeah, not a problem to be. Number three, Martell, you must be out your goddamn mind to sit there and question any type of infidelity. Sir, I'm going to need you to respectfully shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. You, out of all people, should not be trying to out somebody as being a side piece when you've had a side piece for 5 years out of your 10-year marriage. Lord, make it make sense. Like, Martell's arrogance is mind-boggling. How dare you try and call Kimmy out as the side piece when you had your own side piece? And that's that patriarchal bullshit. Like, men can go out, be unfaithful, be less of a man that they were signed up to be. But child, let a woman do that shit and she needs to be called out. Martell, how about we talk about your side piece? How about we talk about your side piece? How about we talk about your side piece? I was looking at that scene like, nigga, you got a lot of bald-headed nerve. Don't do it. Don't do it, Martell. Oh my God, Latisha and her mom's podcast. I'm going to try and put this lightly and very delicately. When it comes to Latisha's mother, she is repulsive to me. She's repulsive. If repugnant were an actual person, Latisha's mother is the personification of repugnant. And on top of her being back for this season, she has a confessional. I get it on. She's obnoxious as hell. She has a polarizing personality, which makes her good for TV. But I wanted to throw up when I saw her back on my screen. Latisha's mom and Latisha have a podcast. This podcast was something about my mom, something, whatever. As soon as I saw Mama Heavy Tongue, I'm looking at her like, oh my God, the pleather outfit, the keychain earrings, the lock. It's obvious that this 70-year-old woman was trying to dress like she was all of 22 years old. It didn't work for me. It made my head hurt. And I'm looking at them earrings and the lock around her chest, and I'm thinking, if only that meant you were going to lock that obnoxious mouth up, because I'm tired of it. And the reason why that she is so disgusting to me is my mom, rest in peace, like, my mom wasn't like that. Like, if my mom was still alive and I had beef with a friend of mine around my age. Like, my mother would never get involved in that bullshit. My mother was a God-fearing woman. Like, her only priority in life was to serve God and be a good mother and make sure we had a meal to eat. So I couldn't come to my mom with this bullshit like that. Like, oh, Mom, I have beef with such and such person. My mother would have looked at me like, and I don't care. I got Bible study tonight. Looking at Latisha's mom, where she's in the mix, like she's throwing shade, she's tweeting, she's saying A, B, and C. It's like, Latisha, can you check your mother? Like, please check your mother, because that's not how mothers are supposed to act. Like, see, what I'm confused about this podcast is, this podcast was supposed to be centered around Latisha's mom. So how Mel became the subject is it still boggles the mind. It's reality TV, so there should be an authenticity that is worked into it. So for Mel's name to come up in a podcast that was supposed to be about Latisha and her mom's relationship, I'm like, this is fake as hell. But 2 seconds into the damn podcast, Mel's name comes up. Mel and Martell's situation. Martell is not being faithful, and he's a dog. All right, Mama Heavy Tongue. We know. Of course, Latisha follows up with Mel's event and the fact that Mel was asked to leave, and Latisha's mother says, you should have smacked the shit out that bitch. Mama Heavy Tongue, how about you smack Mel? And if Mel would have smacked your ass back, you would have cried elder abuse. Sit your ass down. So then Mama Heavy Tongue goes in on Kimmy. Mama Heavy Tongue mentions that Latisha can't trust Kimmy, and that, you know what she said, at the last reunion. And they flash back to when Mel was saying, they were tweeting all this type of stuff about me. I'm bougie. I'm the tweet queen or something like that. And then Kimmy jumps in, and Kimmy owned it. Kimmy said, Mel is not telling any stories. Mel is absolutely right. We were tweeting some foul stuff about her. So Mama Heavy Tongue, do you even know what throwing a rock and hiding your hand is? I don't think you do understand the phrase. You just don't really seem quite educated to me. Throwing the rock and hiding the hands means you're an aggressor, but you're trying to play the victim. Kimmy hasn't demonstrated that type of behavior. The example that she used about Kimmy stepping up and saying, we used to tweet some foul stuff about Mel, is ownership. That's not throwing a rock and hiding your hand. This scene made me sick, particularly because I'm going to have to deal with Mama Heavy Tongue for the rest of this season, and I am not here for it. I don't like her. And I think Latisha's weak. I think Latisha's very weak, and I don't think Latisha has the personality where she can go head to head with Mel, so she recruits her mother to be that mouthpiece for her. So Latisha brought up Mel's name during the podcast on purpose. She did, which was fucked up to me. Like, it's your podcast, you're talking about your mother, keep the subject on your mother. Y'all just trying to create good TV. It's working though. Destiny goes to Mel's for a visit. Own. We don't want it. We don't want it. I see they're trying to make Destiny pop. Mel, I see you're trying to make Destiny pop, because Mel mentioned a couple of times in this episode that she's grown closer to Destiny over the years. And I'm like, Mel, are you really growing closer to Destiny over the years, or are you trying to convince yourself of it? Because I'm not at all convinced. Yeah, they're trying to make Destiny happen, and yeah, I know I'm not interested. We dig deep a little bit while Destiny and Mel are having a conversation, and I've come to find out Destiny has had to make adjustments in her life to be with LeBarrix. Now, is LeBarrix her husband, or is she dating him? I don't know. But yeah, drop down in the comment box. But Destiny mentions that when they got together, she had to move into LeBarrix's bachelor pad, which I'm like, yeah, I would have an issue with that too. And I can't relate, because when I got with my ex, my children's father, he moved in with me. I was already established. I already had my own apartment. I already had my own car. So in a sense, I had that sense of control. This was my shit. You're moving into my situation. So for Destiny to get with LeBarracks and have to go into his bachelor pad, and you don't know what kind of dried stains were in that mattress from other women, yeah, I can see where that would be an issue. But Destiny did say they are in therapy to try and work things out, and she mentions that this is her 6th pregnancy, so she must have miscarried the last 5 times, which is really unfortunate. It really is unfortunate, because a miscarriage is not an easy thing. Thank God I've never had to endure that. But at the same moment, I'm still not interested in Destiny and LeBarracks. We don't want it. We don't care. But anyway, Mel ends up giving her encouragement. It was an okay episode. You know, my biggest takeaway of this episode is that Latisha was dead ass wrong for showing up at that woman's event without an invitation. So whatever embarrassment you get. No, Kimmy, don't give up your nursing career just because somebody wants you to sell houses 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, if you have that desire and you have enough money in your bank account to sustain you during the dry seasons in real estate, I mean, it's all good. But Kimmy, you have to really want this. And looking at this episode, I'm not sure you really want that. My third takeaway, Martell's an asshole, and Martell doesn't love anybody but himself. A 5th child, man, go to sleep. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the comments. I really appreciate you guys, and these videos are therapeutic because I can get to watch these shows and have a dialogue about it. Really, really enjoy it. Please check out my blog, www.blissfullysinglebeing.com. I just put up a post, blissfully single and finally enjoying sex. I think you would really get a key or two out of that article. And I write resumes, so if you need any resume writing help, just email me at resumes@blissfullysinglebeing.com. I'll have all of that information in the description box. Really appreciate you guys. Love you guys. And thanks for watching. Happy Sunday. Peace.